Australians living in the US have formed a network to help refugees being resettled in the country from Manus Island and Nauru. More than 1,250 people are expected to be transferred under a deal brokered between Australia and the Obama administration. While limited support is offered for 90 days, there are concerns about ongoing help given cuts to domestic refugee support agencies. Joining me now is a co-founder of the expat group Australian Diaspora Steps Up, or Adds Up, Ben Windsor. Ben Windsor, welcome. So why did you decide to get involved in this?
Thanks for having me. We just saw that there was a need. I'm a freelance journalist. I work in New York, and I had spoken to a bunch of refugees around America who were struggling, who had come from Manus and Nauru. And normally you try to refer them to an organisation or someone who might be able to help them afterwards, but there wasn't that group in America that had this understanding of their background. And across the Hudson River in Brooklyn, Fleur Wood, who's also an expat Australian, was reading these stories and thinking, wouldn't it be great if the Australians who are over here, there's quite a large expat community of Australians in America, wouldn't it be great if we stepped up to take some responsibility for this and to help support these people who are arriving here. So she reached out to me and we were thinking the same thing, and it went from there.
So how many refugees from Manus and Nauru have arrived in the US now?
It's difficult to get an exact figure. Neither the American government nor the Australian government will give a precise figure on how many have been transferred. The closest we can get is about 300, and we think that about 370 have been given permission and authorisation to go. So at least around about 300, and we're in contact with about half of them.
Yeah, and so how have you been able to get in touch with them and find out where they are?
A number of ways. We have asked them to tell their friends and to get in touch with their friends and ask them to get back in touch with us. Through Facebook, you can normally check out people's friends and then send them messages and ask if they would need assistance, and that's the way that we got in touch with a lot of them. We also spent about $30 just on Facebook advertising on all of Nauru and all of Manus Island for about a week. Telling people that we were in America, and if they had friends in America or if they were in America, we could help them out. And lots of people sent us messages when they saw that.
And are they being sent across the country or to one particular spot? How does that work?
Yeah, they're really being sent anywhere and everywhere. Basically, you could throw a dart at a map of America and there would probably be a refugee living in the city. We've got refugees in Texas, in Michigan, in California, in upstate New York, in Chicago. They're really spread out a lot. Some of them are in quite remote areas, and some have only been resettled on their own. So that's quite challenging, particularly if you have a young refugee or a family that has arrived suddenly, left all of their social support networks and friendship groups on Manus or Nauru, and arrived and been the only one who's in a very small town. So what we do is we try to connect them with Australians who are living in those towns as well, to be that kind of social support and be someone who is interested in them and who cares about them, and can help them navigate setting up their new life in America.
And has it been up to them to decide where they go, or have they been told they have to go to a particular spot for a particular period of time and live there?
So normally they'll arrive and they'll be sent to a particular destination that they don't have a choice in. The resettlement agencies do take into account if people have family support or social networks already in a particular city. They'll try to send them there. But of course, these guys and these families and these women have been on Nauru or Manus for 5 years, so there isn't much connection that they already have with America. So it really just seems to be luck of the draw. And also the sort of knowledge that they have of America can also be quite limited. I spoke to one refugee the other day, and he said the only thing he knew about America was that there were lots of school shootings and lots of guns, and he was actually worried about coming to America beforehand. So sometimes their knowledge and understanding of America is quite basic.
And considering their experiences on Manus Island and Nauru, what have you found to be their mental state in your contacts with them?
I've been really impressed by their resilience, actually. A lot of people are very resilient and pull through. They've gone through a lot in their home countries, and then they've gone through a lot on Manus and Nauru, and some of their stories are really harrowing. but so many of them are just eager to become independent and start new lives and get on with it. There are some cases, of course, where there are refugees who have been diagnosed with depression or mental illness, or the trauma is still affecting them, and it's very difficult for them when they come to the United States because there isn't a mental health system here that's able to support them. The health support that they do get doesn't cover that kind of treatment. So we're raising funds to be able to deal with that kind of stuff, and we're finding volunteers, volunteer psychologists who will call and give these people someone to talk to, because that is important.
And so tell us a bit more about how you're coordinating your operation and what support you offer them.
For sure. So the first thing is to get in contact with people. And then we normally ask them if there are any immediate needs that they have. They are given a caseworker when they arrive, but the refugee acceptance program here has been reduced quite significantly. That a lot of agencies are closing offices and a lot of caseworkers' work is stretched very thin. So we try to work out what that caseworker is able to cover and what the gaps are. We've spoken to people who have been sleeping on the floor because they haven't had a mattress in the room that they've arrived in and haven't got any money. We've spoken to families who are facing eviction because the social security check has bounced or hasn't come through, and they've got a family of 6 who wouldn't have a roof over their head otherwise. So there are these gaps here. If someone is going well, and if we have dealt with all the emergency situations, we then try to connect them with an Australian in their local city to welcome them.
Yeah, OK, Ben, we'll leave it there. Ben Windsor talking to us there from New York City, and he's from the group Australian Diaspora Steps Up.
Thank you so much.